Hi, Lightworkers. This is my conversation with the soul known as Yeshua ben Yosef, more commonly known today as Jesus the Nazarene. As Lightworkers, we have an innate ability to see through the lies and the distortions in the matrix at a very early age. We just know something isn't right. And eventually, the matrix programming breaks down to a point where many light workers reject religious dogma in its entirety. A lot of you don't even believe this person existed. And to that, I just want to say, consider this. There are over 2 billion people who call themselves Christians. If they say this person is real, he's real. As I always say on this channel, never underestimate the power of the mind. If 2 billion people agree that this man lived, power of their minds, then he lived. Most of you realize that the future is not a singular, solid thing. This would also apply to our past, our collective past on this planet. The only real moment that we have is right now, the now. The power of the mind can never be underestimated. Now, why do you think they want to control our minds to such a degree? So I expect this video to draw a lot of people from his soul group. It's a very large soul group. I myself, I am not a Christian, but after having this conversation with him, I am interested in learning more about Gnosticism. It's just so amazing to me that original transcripts of what was actually taught were recovered way back in the 1940s and 1945. But yet and still, the lies continue to propagate. This rebranded Gnosticism called Christianity is still very prevalent despite the truth being at our fingertips. The truth is here. At this day and time, there is no excuse for ignorance. None. Now, in light of the current genocide that is happening in Gaza, Yeshua is said to have been born in a town called Bethlehem, and that is located in the West Bank of the land known as Palestine. Please go over to my Patreon and follow along with the series that we have. We are remote viewing and investigating what really happened in that Sinai desert. How did we get here? So we will be continuing that series on Patreon with 1 to 2 videos each month because we need answers.
They are so disconnected from what's known as source consciousness, which means they do stupid, psychopathic, evil things. They're so lost in their own bewildered, disconnected world because everything that this force does is an inversion of life. And that's why we live in a world that's full of inversions. People look at the world and they go, it's freaking mad. Well, everyone else thinks it's not mad, so it must be me. Well, I can tell you, it ain't you. The world is mad. Most of the population, the great majority of the population, doesn't want it. They think it's crazy. The authorities are all supporting it, and the corporations are supporting it. And people are losing their jobs for challenging it. Why? Because this global cult that operates through the corporations, through the governments, through the government agencies, is supporting this agenda, whereas the rest of the great majority of the population, they don't want it, but they get it anyway. It's very, very important that people move beyond and expand into asking much bigger questions of the nature of reality, the nature of the I, the very nature of who we are.
I reached out to Yeshua. He is from this land. These are his people. I can describe him as like someone we would call today a mixed race person, a person of mixed ethnicity. He has tan skin, long black curly hair, hazel eyes. There is discrepancy about physical looks of the personage of Yeshua, and I believe this is due to the Roman Empire's push forward of this false Messiah, this false Christ, this blonde-haired, red-haired false Christ. This is psychological warfare to push forward the Anglo-Saxon mission of world dominance. The genetic root of the Palestinian people or the Arab people are indigenous Indians. It's very easy to understand why this being would choose to incarnate in a mixed race. This is where Africa, India, and Europe meet. This is the Middle East. Many people can see themselves in this personage. This being, Yeshua ben Yosef, he is no longer a human being. He has ascended, and he showed me that he has the ability to manifest a human body at will. Apparently, he chooses any race that he desires to serve the purpose of what he's doing at the time. I've seen on 2 occasions him manifest and show himself as a African man with long dreadlocks. So as an ascended master, he can manifest himself in any human form that he chooses. And he showed me himself manifest as a woman to continue his work on this earth. So when people see him in these different forms, they kind of get carried away with that. To speak with him, I asked my spirit team for assistance to make this happen. And later in the day, I took a nap. As I was opening my eyes from the nap, I sensed his presence in my mind. And he said something personal to me that I'm not going to include here, but apparently he was in my mind, looking around at the thoughts in my mind. Then I asked him, what do you think about your homeland as it is today? And I guess we were in the astral, because behind him, it was like this large screen appeared showing the land of Palestine. He had turned around, he was looking at this, and he said, this place is very different from my time. It's almost unrecognizable. Now, I'm just feeling very amazed and very happy that it was so easy to contact him. He's very accessible. This is not the first time I've seen him with spiritual eyes. And I want to describe what he's wearing. He's wearing a long, natural beige colored hooded robe. The material seems very plain, very natural. He also wears this shawl-like material, and it's a orange color. It's saffron. And I've seen many depictions of him dressed like this, but I haven't seen many people make the connection here with this saffron. Now, monks and yogis wear this color to symbolize the fire of spirituality that burns away ignorance. And that is why Buddhist monks dye their clothes in this orange saffron color. So this is a very big clue to the so-called missing years of Jesus, beginnings of his spiritual journey. It's a very big clue. It's right in your face. He was a yogi. I believe that he was trying to carry this light, this fire, back to his people to help to free them from religious dogma. And I asked him, What do you think of the current state of Christianity? He said, it pains and sorrows him, this barrier of ignorance in people's minds. And he's showing me that this is what he was dealing with back in his time. This barrier, he called it a barrier of ignorance in people's minds. Then I asked him, where did you go in the missing years? He said, I went to India to learn. There is record of me there. Seek and you shall find. Which I did find. This is all researchable. He was known as Issa in India. So I asked him, how did you get there? How did he get to India? And he said, merchant caravans and lots of walking. I researched this as well, and there you have it. It's all there. This was a very common way of traveling at the time, to travel along the trade routes with the merchants. There was a well-established trade route between India and Palestine and Jerusalem. There was a very well-established trade route between India and Jerusalem at the time. There were things that the Sadducees and Pharisees of the temple needed from India for their worship practices, such as incense and the gemstones in the breastplates. There is a very strong Indian connection here. I will leave a video below if you're interested in the Indian roots of Judaism. I will leave that link below. This is quite interesting. So, my next question is, what do you think of Israel? He says, this is the same enemy that I was up against in my lifetime. The state of Israel is the same devil that despised me. The people of Israel think of themselves as victims, that they are surrounded by enemies. Netanyahu exploited this fear. Then he shows me something very dark about I call him Nettie. Let's just call him Nettie. He's showing me Nettie in a dark hood with, it does look like it's embellished. There's embellishment on the hood, but it's like a black dark hood. He's wearing a hood. This man is looking like a warlock. Okay? And he's having some sort of ceremony. Yeshua tells me these souls are Nettie's sacrifice to his devil. Right? And then I ask him, what do you think about Christian pastors that preach about hell and brimstone? He says, my message is the message of joy, life, and playfulness. They have reversed this lightness in order to focus on death and the avoidance of hell, when they should preach about the joy of life and enjoying this creation, because it is here for us to enjoy. He expressed sadness for what his message was turned into, but at this point, he's telling me and showing me how the universe works, and it's beautiful. He said that the universe rights all wrongs in due time. He is so deep and profound, like the teachings, there's just so much more than people are preaching from the pulpit. He is so deep and so magical, so mystic. And I could just see this man teaching about the mechanics of the universe. The universe is self-correcting. And I was seeing these beautiful colors in this clock-like movement. It's like a clock within a clock within a clock within a clock within a clock. It's hard to describe, but it was really beautiful to see There is a scripture placed in the Bible that says that you said, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's." Did you ever say this? And he says unequivocally, he says simply no. Then I ask, what do you think of very mean-spirited Christians who try to force their religious views on others and treat people of different views and backgrounds, such as gays, as lost or evil people? He says, be gracious, be kind to these people, go and make amends with them. And he continued, but he's showing me two people walking up to, make amends with each other. And then he says, these people who have been treated harshly by the church should go and form their own spiritual groups. And then in my mind, I'm saying, oh, so they should go and start their own church? This is where someone from my spirit team, who I didn't even realize was here, butted in and said, no, he did not say church. He said spiritual group. And then I got instant understanding that he is not very happy with turning his message into a business. He's not happy with people incorporating his message and turning it into something for profit. He's not against churches. What he is against is the focus being on a building, a business, and not on the people. Just regular old people gathering and teaching and healing. It wasn't about a building. It wasn't about a collection plate. It wasn't about running commercials and ads. It wasn't about buying cars and jets, private jets and mansions. It was about the message and the people. So then I asked him, so were you a human or a starseed? There are stories about your birth that say you weren't actually a human. He said, yes, he was a human, but not anymore. He has ascended. So what that basically means is that he is on the level of being an ascended master, you could say. And then he showed me that he can manifest a human body at will, anytime he chooses. That he does. And he showed me a woman walking into a rural village somewhere where people actually are like living in like hut-like structures or like straw type of material, like bamboo material. But he's walking into this village and he's feeding people. So he is still performing this miracle of feeding people, but he manifested a woman's body. So he's basically just showing me that he's very powerful. He is still involved in this realm, and he can walk in as a woman, so you would never know that it was him. And then I asked, what would you like to say to your following, all of the Christians out there? And he said, tell them I will return for them like I promised. And he showed me this beautiful vision of him standing in the sun and looking down at the earth. And he's golden. He's pure golden from head to toe. And he will call. He will call for you. So if you're in the soul group, he is saying that he will return as promised. I do plan on making a video that I'm going to call Evacuation Earth. Is where the earth will be evacuated because these crazy people, they want to have their wars and they want to use these new weapons. They want to depopulate this earth. So there'll be a time where this world will have to be evacuated. Not just Christians will be evacuated from this earth. And I will go more into that in the video. Star seeds will be evacuated. Indigenous groups will just dematerialize. There'll be an evacuation of planet Earth. Then I asked, the Palestinian people are really suffering right now. Do you have a message that I can give to your people? And can you give me a sign that will prove that I was talking with the real Yeshua? Because many people will not believe unless they see a sign. Tell my Palestinian people to look for the miracle during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is Sunday, on Monday, April 22nd to Tuesday, April 30th, 2024. They will know that God has come to their aid because their enemy will be bound. Tell my Palestinian people that their burdens will be eased during the Feast of Tabernacles. That's October of 2024. Okay? That's the message to the Palestinian people. And what I feel, what I was feeling is actual real fear, worry, and anxiety in the IDF when this happens. This is going to be during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. When this miracle happens for the Palestinian people, this is going to strike fear in the hearts of the IDF. So that is wonderful news. The Palestinian people will emerge from this. You will make it to the other side of this tragedy. And if there are any innocent Israeli people, please leave that place, because we don't want to see any harm come to you. I do need to bring you guys the information about the Mahdi that is about to make his debut. And when he arrives, I would not be in that place. Okay? After this conversation, his presence stayed with me for a few more days, and I was being led to more information about Mary. Okay? The Mary Soul Group. I'm going to leave a link below to the YouTube channel that he personally led me to. The Mary Soul Group is very active in the earth when it comes to physical healing, healing of all kinds. If you have been very disturbed with what is happening, the ongoing genocide, and you're just wondering, how did we get here? How did we get here as humanity? Please join me over on Patreon for the series that I started called The Hidden Hands Behind the Israel versus Hamas War. Because we are uncovering historical truths. We are uncovering origins of this evil. We have covered the Exodus and what happened to these people in the Sinai Desert, the ET contact that was made there. And in the next video, we are going to talk about what actually transpired in Egypt. I plan on posting at least one video a month in this series over on Patreon. You know, it needs to be exposed because it's dragging the entire humanity down. At a time when we should be uplifting, we should be ascending right now. We have all the energetic support. I hope you guys get out and soak up some sun rays because the sun is very active right now. Please check out the video I did on the 2024 astrology, because I talk about the upcoming April 8th solar eclipse and what we can expect. But I also make another video about the solar eclipse. You guys be careful on the East Coast because there's going to be increased seismic activity this year. I love you guys, and I will see you very soon in the next video.
You could never break us, yeah, we'll never be broken. World went blind, now the whole world is awoken. When it's all said and it's done, it isn't over. We won't ever forget all the lies that you told us. Everyone's seen what you did to my people. What's a stone to a missile, we ain't equal. F-16s, cause the ground for you is lethal. This a genocide, you ain't even tryna hide it.